Hi, welcome back to my channel. Spring has finally arrived, so let's get stuck into what I'll be doing in my garden in April. Now we're in the month of April, we can really start to enjoy planting more seeds. So starting with those flower seeds, you can get those hardy annuals in, marigolds, calendulas, borage. You can start wildflower seeds off, but again, make sure that you do stagger how often you plant them. You don't want to plant all of one thing all at once. Try and stagger those seeds being planted over a few weeks so that they do last for a longer period of time. Same with your vegetable seeds, so we can really start putting things in like Brussels sprouts, cauliflowers, broccoli, leeks, beetroot, tomatoes and chilies, radishes, salads, beans, pumpkins, basically anything that on the packet says it can be planted from April, go for it. The packets are a guideline and they are there to help you know when you can put those seeds in, so definitely read those. You can also start adding aquatic plants to your ponds, as well as getting things in like the bare root asparagus. You can also get your second crop of potatoes in. Basically repeat what you did with your first crop of potatoes in March, and this will be your main crop, so you can probably actually put a few more in than you did with your first crop. Certain varieties would do better at this time of year than they would in early or later crops, so do a little bit of research, find out which varieties work best at this time of year and get some of those in. You can start planting quite a few herb seeds now, like parsley and coriander, dill and chamomile as well as dividing those hardy herbs such as chives and lemon balm. If you already have those in your garden, they are very easy to divide at this time of year, and if you don't, then maybe try and find someone that does have them so that they can divide them and you can get some from them. If you do have them, share them with your neighbours and your friends, because they're such lovely herbs and they're so easy to divide up, and you would still get really large crops from them even when divided. You can continue to plant your onions, shallots and garlic cloves as well in April. These will be harvested quite a bit later than your earlier crop that you would have probably put in the autumn or early winter, but it means that you have a second crop of these as well. You can also start sowing grass seed in April. So if you've mowed your lawn and it's looking a little patchy in areas, a little bit of grass seed in those areas in April is good. The April showers should hopefully encourage that to grow in those areas, and then when you mow again, it should make it a little more even and hide those bald spots that might have appeared over the winter. In April, you can start taking softwood cuttings from things like hydrangeas. They need pruning back usually at this time anyway, so when you're pruning it, you can then take that cutting and try and plant it and create more plants from it. Other things such as honeysuckle, forsythia, and basically anything that you might want to take a bit of a trim to, try and grow those cuttings and see if you can create more plants. Have a go, you know, it's a great way to get free plants from what would normally be just thrown on the compost pile. So put a few in a pot and see what comes up. In April, anything that you started planting from seed in March will probably need pricking out and giving a bit more space so that it has enough energy and resources to create a really strong and healthy plant. So you will want to prick out those very carefully and repot them in larger pots with plenty of space around them. Everything will usually need a bit of a feed in April as well. As it is getting warmer, that encourages more growth, and if there aren't enough nutrients in the soil, then that can hinder that plant. So a feed will encourage those good bacteria in the soils to encourage your plant growth. You would have probably given a lot of things a feed already in March, but other things such as your cane fruits, your raspberries, your gooseberries and your currants, now is a good time to start putting a feed on them as well to encourage their growth. Houseplants will also need a feed. You can add this into their water when you're watering them, which will need to be done more frequently as the month is getting warmer and into the summer. So encouraging healthy growth, and especially for potted plants, they need nutrients adding to the soil constantly as they're not in an area that can generate its own nutrients. So adding those nutrients into the soil by giving them a feed in their water is the best way to give them those nutrients. April is another month that we want to continue to keep our gardens looking fresh and tidy by doing certain things to help airflow around our plants and to prevent fungal diseases from affecting our plants as well. You're going to want to start deadheading your spring bulbs and any early flowering plants. This will just help to keep the garden tidy, general plant hygiene, and prevent any fungal diseases from spreading in your garden. Cutting back old tatty growth as new shoots emerge is certainly an important job to be doing in April. So tidying up strawberries as well, and cutting down any suckers that appear at the base of your bushes and your trees. This will also help to encourage growth higher up on those plants and to create a better shape overall. So it's just a lot healthier for them to have a bit of air circulation around them. So cutting back old tatty growth and keeping a lot of airflow around your plants is a very good thing to be doing. April is also a good time to spray any roses you have with a fungicide. You can look online for homemade ones, or you can go to the garden centre to get organic and eco-friendly ones. This will help prevent any mildew or black spot from getting onto your roses. So a good time to do that is now. You want to continue to protect any new shoots coming up from slugs and snails. I've already, in my March video, told you how I try and prevent that, but just keep an eye on those new shoots coming up. You're going to want to try and prevent any damage before it happens if you can, and it will help that plant to generate into a larger, healthier plant, which the slugs are probably not going to be as bothered by. To use cloches and fleece to protect those young plants from any frost. Now, April certainly isn't a safe month to uncover everything or to put everything outside. Your plants will want hardening off if you're going to be putting them outside. Now, this means basically exposing them to the outdoor elements if they've been in a polytunnel or a greenhouse over the winter or in early spring. So you're going to want to put them outside for a certain amount of time to get them used to the outdoor climate. Now, you want to be careful of very frosty evenings or very cold evenings. They're going to want to be put back inside those polytunnels or greenhouses, but gradually brought outside and got used to those temperatures that could fluctuate in April still. You can also thin out the peach fruit that will be coming along in April as well. If you have a cluster of fruit all together, you're going to want to give it a bit of space so that the plant can focus on creating strong fruit. If it has too many to concentrate on growing well, you're going to get kind of mediocre fruit. Whereas if you help that plant to focus on one fruit in a certain area, give about 10 centimeters per fruiting bud, then that peach tree will be able to focus its energy on creating one really good fruit in that area rather than several clustered together. It also again helps to create an airflow around that fruit and prevent any rot or any sort of pressure on that soft fruit as well. So give your fruits on your peach trees a little bit of space. As we start to get more sunshine and more warmth in April, we're going to want to take full advantage of those resources. So cleaning the polytunnel or the greenhouse that you have to let in as much light as possible and therefore keep it a warm place for your plants to start growing is super important. Also, April showers are not unheard of in April, obviously. So setting up a water catchment area in your garden can absolutely become beneficial to making sure you have water later in the season when it might be a little more difficult to acquire. We have one set up on our garage. It's just a simple gutter system that goes into an OSB tank and then has a tap on it so that later in the season when I need more water or the ground starts to get very dry, I have a huge amount of water saved from earlier in the season when there was more rain. Just make sure you keep those gutters clear of any debris so that you can catch as much water as possible, and you can add that debris to your compost pile. Having your own water as a resource is a massive, massive benefit to any gardener. You may have noticed more garden birds appearing now that the winter has passed and that we're getting into those warmer months now. You can continue to put bird seed out for your birds as they are going to be coming into the brooding season and creating new brood. So having a food source they can regularly go to is great for them. As we come into the warmer month of April, we're going to want to do more bee checks. Now, this means that we can go in and check the general health of the colony. We can make sure that the queen is continuing to lay eggs and that the worker bees are bringing in plenty of pollen and stores. We can maybe switch out some of the broodless old frames and put fresh frames in there, potentially give them a feed to encourage them to draw those frames out, but generally just keep an eye on what space they have and any signs of swarming. If there are signs of swarming, a queen excluder and a super need to be put onto that hive to give them more space. And then you need to continue doing this into May. So we'll get onto that next month. But keeping an eye on the general health of your colonies and doing regular bee checks will be something to be done in April as well. Okay, to summarise, we should continue to plant more seeds, add aquatic plants to ponds, plant bare root asparagus and our second crop of potatoes, divide herbs, plant onions and garlic, sow grass seed, take softwood cuttings, prick out those young seedlings, and feed cane fruit and house plants. Continue to deadhead and weed throughout the garden, cut back tatty growth, spray roses with a fungicide, protect those new shoots from slugs, keep using fleeces and cloches, harden off plants that will be going outside, give your peach fruit space, clean the polytunnel and greenhouse, and set up a water catchment area. Continue to put out bird feed during their brooding season, do more bee checks to check on the general health of the hive, and keep an eye out for signs of swarming. That's it for this month's video. Thanks so much for coming by. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and we'll see you again next month. Thanks a bit.